Let's reminisce.
It was a simpler time. Phones rang. There was no frozen yogurt. I don't remember using an ATM machine at that time. If you didn't have money on a Friday, you were in up Creek till Monday. Not many people had answering machines. Nobody was using a computer. Cell phones, pagers, no. Geez, I don't know how we got along. VCRs were just, I don't recall. I do remember records. I remember albums.
We were the generation that had grown up with rock and roll on records, but on television they were really relegated to the midnight special, an occasional showing of the Beatles and the Rolling Stones on the Ed Sullivan Show.
Well, in 1981 on TV, it was still all just about the three networks, you know, ABC, NBC, and CBS. Music on TV was in a ghetto.
Cable television was still in its infancy with limited offerings, and the notion of paying for television was completely alien.
You want to explain to somebody, look, we're going to pay to watch television. You out your mind? Couldn't pay the gas bill. How are you going to pay for TV?
Apart from a few movie channels, specialized networks were still going through growing pains.
I don't think anybody imagined what cable TV would sort of turn into.
And then all of a sudden CNN came on the scene. There was news on all the time. And shortly after that, I remember ESPN, but it seemed like a lot of rodeos.
I used to say to people, I love weather. Why doesn't it have its own channel? Every time I hear the weather report, I think to myself, I could listen to this 24 hours a day.
Sensing the potential, American Express and Warner Communications began Warner Amex Satellite Communications with the intention of creating new networks for the fledgling medium.
MTV didn't exist. It was one of 5 or 6 offerings the company wanted to create. They were the games channel, the shopping channel, and the music channel were all going to be complements to the movie channel.
The trades began leaking word of a 24-hour rock and roll music network, still known then as the Music Channel.
Nobody likes a generic name.
We try to come up with all these variations of names.
The ones that I remember in particular were Rockbox and TV1. What we felt we needed was a trademark that was going to stand out.
The logo was like a defining creative moment, although we didn't realize it at the time.
A small design company was commissioned to come up with a logo for a channel with no name.
He wanted us to do something as good as the CBS Eye.
As a launch deadline drew near, a name was finally chosen.
MTV ended up becoming the compromise.
It wasn't a popular choice.
We went through several hundred logos.
I got to the studio and I started sketching, and I wound up with a tissue paper sketch of the block and the TV, and at that time the TV was airbrushed.
Our ad agency said we were about to make the biggest mistake we would ever make. We looked like we were a cinder block company.
Hosts for the channel, dubbed VJs, were cast, and work began to create an opening sequence.
There weren't a lot of people, and we were working around the clock.
One of the prerequisites for getting hired at MTV was that you had no TV experience.
Remember all the time you used to spend spinning your radio dial in search of your favorite music? Well, the search is over.
They were trying to define something that had no precedent, so the logic was, let's bring some people who have no idea about television and invent it from the ground up.
Just when you thought you'd seen it all, your TV becomes something brand new.
The small group brainstormed about other famous firsts and other launches.
It's not long before we arrive at the moonwalk.
There was no one around the world who did not know that image. We decided in really typical rock and roll fashion to appropriate it to our own ends. But we went to NASA. It's available to all Americans on a cost-free basis. We took the footage, took the stills that we did, and basically gave an artist a magic marker and said, will you please draw over the flag and put our logo in there, and we'll animate it, and that came up to be the piece.
Most people believe the MTV Moon Man is Neil Armstrong. The truth is, he's actually the second man to walk on the moon, Edwin Buzz Aldrin. Now the network was up and running, but how do you fill a 24-hour music channel?
I remember thinking they should have had more videos.
We were lying to people telling we had all these videos. There was like 130 videos, and like 36 of them were Rod Stewart.
Anything that had music in it became content for MTV.
Be sure and be watching in when the Charlie Daniels Band will be live from Saratoga, New York on MTV.
Along with with VJs and music videos, MTV's logos, animations, and on-air promotions helped to define the unique feel of the channel.
They were primitive and groundbreaking, mainly because we had no money. There weren't shoots. It was just all, it was found footage, black and white, funny, weird stuff. We just write copy to that.
The demand for MTV stereo hookups has been overwhelming.
I remember reading about MTV and being very excited, but hearing about it from my friends in other towns because the cable system in East Brunswick did not have MTV.
Even in large cities like New York, some cable companies just weren't running the channel.
No one thought MTV worked except viewers. What we wanted to do is to get them to do something to demonstrate that they like this.
America! Demand our MTV!
So we use I want my MTV.
I want my MTV.
I want my MTV!
I want my MTV.
We would run that campaign and it had like 1 million homes a month. We just went market by market, steamrolled across America.
Call your cable company and say, I want my MTV!
We made it sound like if you weren't getting it, you were somehow being denied your human rights.
I was flipping out. Well, I gotta get this MTV, I gotta get this music television.
I was in high school and I remember watching MTV.
I remember thinking it was very cool and thinking right then, wow, that's something I'd like to do.
I didn't actually see it until I was about in the 8th grade. That's when cable came to Chicago.
It's MTV, it's rock and roll. That's what you want.
And we would just sit up at night and talk about how awesome Duran Duran.